little intro to the whole group, if that works. Kick us off, Diane.
If anyone doesn't know me, I'm Diane Telfer. I'm from Dundee City Council. I'm from the HR background, team manager at the moment, very linked to this particular process, but also payroll, recruitment, and a lot about data and stuff as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Phil Smith. I'm with the business support team at Dundee City Council. Part of my role is supply, recruitment, allocating jobs, kind of with payroll, HR, staffing, etc. So yeah, here to share our journey with teaching today.
Thank you. I'm Stella Lock. I'm section head for HR and payroll at Western Berkshire Council. And what you guys here, I was part of this journey from the day when Seamus retired there in supply teacher module. I have a vested interest, I guess, in making sure that the framework we built was delivering for everybody here in the room, because that's we started that journey.
Is that one?
He's that over there. Thank you guys, and yeah, we've as Teacher Booker, we've worked very closely with all these guys, and it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know them over the times, and they've supported us in our journey, because it's not always been perfect, and that would be a lie if I sat up here and it was absolutely smooth, and I hope for some of our new customers and existing that by these guys sharing their journey and how we worked it out, then that will be helpful. So I'm going to start with questions, and I think please put the questions in Mentimeter, or because it's a bit of a discussion, it might be quite nice if you've got something directly for the guys. So we'll start with the journey. We've spoken a lot about the journey. So Phil and Stella really here. Can you share your journey with Teacher Booker and Omnijo? It's a bit different between you both. And really, what was the problem you were looking to solve when you started with us?
Well, I've probably started some of that answer earlier. When Seamus retired there in module, it ended up that we were in a really a crisis point at Western Berkshire, and we needed something to fill that gap. So we worked with Scotland Excel to find a solution and build a framework that would do so many parts of when we looked at this, which it was, we needed to find a way which we could engage with supply teachers, we could get them on board, we could do timesheets, but part of that was about thinking a bit wider, because what we didn't want to do is bring another system in which only dealt with that kind of silo arrangement of supply teachers, because we recognised early on that we would need supply cleaners in the school, we would need supply catering assistants, so we built that into that framework, and that obviously went out, and we were lucky to have Scotland Excel on board to help us through that procurement journey, so I'm not taking any credit at all, because Richard at Scotland Excel was fantastic, and did get us over a lot of those hurdles. So we were at a crisis point, I have to say, because we were thinking, well, we'll have to go back to spreadsheets, and we were at the phone around to take the first 10, hoping someone would pick up, and if they didn't, the school would be left with, PE teachers covering a maths class, things like that. People would hear so often. So that's kind of where we started. It was really at a crisis point, but bringing Teacher Booker on board was fantastic, and got us through that. And you guys were good at making sure and all the questions that we had through that procurement journey, and for those who haven't onboarded as such yet, that was really helpful for us, because obviously, and we talked some about the APIs, our ICT were a challenge. Naturally, when you have a lot of data travelling in and out, and it is sensitive data, the person, their payroll, all these elements. So the Teacher Booker team were fantastic in making sure that everybody who wanted a box ticked has it ticked, and got us to that point that we needed. So that's where we were probably, I don't know, maybe two years ago, maybe a bit more now. So yeah, we've been on board for a little while.
Thank you, Stella.
I suppose very similar journey. We weren't using CMAS, we were still in spreadsheets. which came with its own problems, which I'm sure many are aware of. Interesting point earlier that it was 1 in 3 phone calls got a member of supply staff. That was not our experience. We were 1 in 10, 15, 20 phone calls you would get somebody to actually pick up, let alone come in. So an inordinate amount of hours wasted at every school. We've got 43 in the authority, so you times those hours a week by head teachers, business managers, etc. That led to its own issues of paper timesheets that were getting scanned in, scribbled on, sent up to payroll, that ledger codes were incorrect, people were getting paid too much, too little because they were ineligible. Just masses of issues we were having across the board with the whole system. So yeah, again, through School IXED, built the system to exactly what we needed it to do, link in with payroll, and just very quickly relaunched April 23. We had some teething issues, but worked very closely with Teacher Booker as we continue to do on evolving the system, updating things, and I joke about it, but it genuinely has been life-changing for us as a council. The amount of time we are saving, head teachers are spending too much money because it's easier to access, but in terms of being able to get somebody in the front of a classroom instantly is absolutely life-changing. So yeah, I will tell you guys that you aren't ready, so don't cry.
Thank you guys. They were really, really informative answers, I feel. And I suppose what sort of comes into that about the journey as well is, which I think is an important part for maybe potential new people that will be coming on. How did you find sort of the onboarding process for your team? Did it feel clear? Was there confusion? Because there were teething issues, and I think it's good to understand sort of both sides from that. If you can think that far back, so a lot happened since then. But yeah, anything we can sort of say about the onboarding?
Yeah, I was just going to say what was really enlightening is when we were actually going through the tendering process and we were picking Teacher Booker, what became apparent is that it wasn't about the money for them, probably is such a business, you get that, but very much it's like they cared and they wanted to make the system for you. They made some promises at the very beginning that we would be able to do a social care module as well. And you know, when we've gone into these tendering situations before, they promise the earth and do not deliver, okay? They have absolutely delivered. There is never hidden costs. All the development that we've done has just been, it's been a joy, to be honest with you, working with you guys. And I'm going to be honest, because I've worked with a lot of these different tendering processes, they promise the earth and they don't deliver. But in this case, you guys definitely did, and I think that is what gives you the edge, potentially. And you need to keep that, because we have companies that we deal with, and every change you want done, every development you want done, that'll be £800, that'll be £700. We never get that. We work together. It feels like we're more of a team working together to develop their system so they can make it better for themselves, but also so it's much better for us. So I think from that point of view, we found that really useful.
Yeah, it's getting a bit gushy up here, but I suppose all I would add to that is it was a very straightforward process. They built the system exactly how we wanted it to be built and do for us what we needed it to do. We did have teething issues. One that stands out was the ledger coding. So we give schools essentially 6 different options to code your supply staff to. You would think head teachers, being the very highly qualified people that they are, would be able to pick the correct codes and actually select codes. Some of them just left it blank. So when we got to our first payroll run, we discovered that codes were missing, codes were not adding up together. So very quickly we changed that to a mandatory field and they could only select certain things. So that was a very small teething issue, but actually it created a lot of issues. And as you'll know, with payroll departments, I hope there's no payroll here, I'm sure there is. As soon as a new system goes live, their backs are already up. So if it doesn't work the first time you run a report, you're trying to egg them on that this is going to be a positive move, this is going to be good. But being able to work closely with Teacher Booker to get things sorted quickly, efficiently, and quite just easily straightforward. It's it has been a pleasure to work with them and just evolve, and we continue to do that. We'll go into that more in the later questions. So yeah.
No, could I maybe just ask a question? Obviously, my name's Elizabeth and I'm from Glasgow City Council, and obviously you're talking about supply. Can you maybe give me an idea of the numbers you're talking about in both your local authorities? And is it just predominantly supply staff that you've got on? You've not got any permanent supply or fixed term contracts or anybody on?
Yep, sure. So, in terms of, well, I'll talk about the award. One thing that I brought, I would say, all of my teams on is the amount of demos that Teacher Booker does for us, and we're happy to provide, because we went through so much of, because when it is exactly as you said, when it's a new system and you've got so many different stakeholders, it was, you know, about us saying, see it in person, come and see what this is. It wasn't about us saying, you know, read the spec, it was come and see it live, and that was, I think, a big change part. And I think we probably did have about 4 or 5 demos where I asked, could someone come and again demo this to show how easy it is. And I think it's not, it's quite difficult to do that when you're trying to explain something where it's to schools, etc. It's a bit more like what we are faced with is, I'm not techie, don't show me techie stuff. So we just want to say, just come see it raw, and this is what you'll see. What you see in the demos, what you'll have, you know, give or take it, some of the, you know, personalisation. So I would say that was particularly helpful for us when we got to that onboarding piece. To answer your question about numbers, at Western Bartonshire, I think actually part of this exercise that we cleansed a lot of our numbers. We probably had something in the region of like 400 and plus supply teachers. Actually, in the reality, headcount is 400 for us, but a good number of those are actually our part-time staffing group who also undertake supply. So we're talking about 250, 300 about true supply. But we, like you guys, have similar challenges of, is someone working? Are they sitting on this and we're pinging out stuff that they don't need? Well, again, the report will soon tell you whether people are engaging, have they get any timesheets in after 18 months. And again, we don't have a bespoke process as to whether you let somebody sit on your system for 18 months and then you're purging them and saying, right, we'll just take you off because we need to make room for the next set of supply teachers, and kind of controlling that list, because that's a housekeeping element. And as I say, this system, not just looking at payroll reports, we'll let see if somebody's engaged, and you know, you'll soon see whether they're picking up, answering, saying yes I want, and not just not getting the work. And that's two different things, and that's not something we could have accessed that data before. We would just have known you were paid. I wouldn't have known that you were one of these 20 phone calls and you just weren't okay, or you weren't home at that time.
We are very similar, around 250-300 supply staff. We don't have permanent supply staff, so it's all casual workers that are on the system, but around another 100 part-time staff. We're in the process of looking at putting our teachers on that are on maternity leaves for keeping in touch days and things like that, just to add that, because that was an added. What we don't want to do is go down the route of hybrid systems and have still kick days coming in through our paper timesheet, so we're in the process of just updating that. But yeah, very similar. Cleanse the system every 12 months. We sort of do a cleanse, get rid of people off the system that haven't engaged with work and haven't told us to come off the system. So yeah.
Also in terms of numbers, we're looking at the social care side as well. So we'll probably have another 250 that will be going on from social care, but we'll talk a bit about that later under how we're going to use it innovatively in the future. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks guys. Does that sort of answer your question? Because I know Glasgow, they have something we built out for you guys called offline workers.
Maybe add a zero onto the.
Yeah, Glasgow, you've got a lot.
No matter the numbers, whether it's 2,200, we're still dealing with the same issues. Obviously, we've been like 3 years with these.
Yes.
Second or 3 years. Obviously, the same thing come off the back of Seamless as well. We had Seamless, but the biggest thing that we have is nothing to do with the system, nothing to do with Teacher Booker. I mean, I can't sort of, not maybe going to stroke your egos anymore.
I won't get out the door at this rate.
thing is the teachers, because it's obviously a teacher-led system, so it's them about keeping their profile up to date, their availability up to date, and again, our head teachers out at schools, all the clinical staff out there, understanding how to use the system correctly. That's not the system itself, it's the people. You can't, it's the people problems, not the system problem.
And that is, I think it's probably felt across all councils, is we can send notifications and reminders through the system, please update your availability, please update your availability. It's just whether those people take those actions, which can be really hard from a management point of view. And then as I've heard from you guys, and then you make one step wrong and you've got unions on your case as well. So yeah, I do understand it's a bit of a tightrope at times. I think we've got a couple of questions, so I might shall we break just after these ones? Because I'm assuming they sort of relate to these ones we've spoken about. Yeah, thanks, James. And what Phil was saying about the teething problems, nothing to do with the rest of the team, it's our lovely James. James sorted it all out.
I was the cause of the teething problem.
No, he was the one that sorted it all out.
Yeah, so we've got a question. Do you think you'll recoup your ROI? Can you give an overview on cost or cost saves or bring up staff to do other things? Was that for anyone in particular on the panel, or was that a general panel question?
Anyone want to take it?
I think simply it saved us an absolute fortune. We had probably 2 full-time members of staff centrally that I think managed the spreadsheet as a push. It wasn't up to date, I can assure you. But 2 full-time members of staff centrally controlling the spreadsheets, trying to keep it updated, trying to make sure we're not putting people in schools that weren't GTC registered anymore. All issues, massive issues. And it's, yeah, so we no longer use those 2 members of staff at all centrally. It's managed by our schools and via payroll, staff and recruitment. We've changed processes in terms of it's not just following with one person to add people to the system to keep things updated. We've kind of shared that around departments. And probably the biggest change has been payroll. From them getting 2, 3, 4, 500 paper timesheets scanned in, sent to them, to somebody then trying to read them, get them put onto a spreadsheet, doing the holiday side of things, which creates massive issues with errors, human error, etc., etc. It's now one download that takes 4 or 5 minutes. So, and I call James if you've made a mistake. So massive reduction in central office time.
Really just the same, yeah, we were exactly, well, not quite, we really moved on a wee bit from paper timesheets, but certainly we have similar kind of, we had about 2 full-time members of staff who would have collated spreadsheets and been checking them to return them, so we're sort of 2 days, every month doing that, and we've linked that out for one report. And part of that is about, when we talk about sort of cost saves and freeing up to do other things, the reporting on it is such an integral part of this, because it does let the accountability, so seeing that that teacher wasn't paid, then we can go to the system and say, well, deadline, it wasn't approved till after the deadline. So it's there. But previously those sort of things would all come in centrally to payroll, whereas we're saying that's access to Teams out in your school. So when you're walking past the school office, ask it there. So, the stuff is at fingertip level, right at the core of who needs to be accessing that. And that stopped what I would have, called us a failure in that demand on central payroll teams, who would be asked, could you tell me, is that in his last cup? We don't need to do that now. It's all sitting in schools. That frees up an inordinate amount of time in these central teams for us to focus on the actual payrolls, which again, as we said earlier, these central teams are reducing as well. So that's a failure demand that's been lifted out on even our central teams, not just those who had specific roles in delivering the timesheets.
Amazing, thank you. Whoever asked that question, do you feel that answered that? hope so. It sounded good.
I saw an anonymous nod.
Perfect.
What about working time directive? Will system highlight potential issues?
That's probably not one for you guys. Do you wanna answer, James, or?
I think we might be talking about that a little bit later on, but we have our utilisation report, so that will show certain parts of utilisation in terms of working time directive, all of the data in there, and similarly we're continuing to build out, looking at AWR regulations, building out, we've got something in the pipeline, I believe it's in this spring coming, might even be released today as we speak, to hopefully address some of those issues as well. And yeah, we always continue to work with, and anything specifically you might need, please speak to one of the team.
Perfect, thank you, James. And I think I've had that conversation with you, Phil, haven't I, about AWR and things. So I think the supplier utilisation report was the first step to at least have visibility, but it doesn't solve the problem, and it needs to be flexible enough that you can input your own rules really into that. But yeah, if that gets released today, let's patch a product in for sure. Yeah.
I think it's today.
We'll speak to Babs about that in a bit. Okay, so let's on.
So this is very timely. It's a bit of HR, but maybe from the panel's perspectives, their thoughts around the update to employment legislations around 0 hours contracts. How do you think that might impact on your current processes and therefore the system process?
Thanks. Yeah, obviously that will have to be considered should that go forward, and we'd have to see what, how we're going to build that in. But yeah, I mean, what else is suggested in terms of how we keep this going? We were having a discussion at our table actually earlier on about, so we have supply teachers and we've got FOISA in, and it looked like their head count had gone up, supply use had gone up over the last 4 years, but we actually looked at the unit hours that we were using. It was consistent of 15,000 hours every single year. So actually, are we masking, the use of zero, and do we actually just need that amount of hours extra every year? And what do we do about that? So I think there is a big discussion about that, and yes, I think it may impact, but at the end of the day, we need that resource, and so where do we go with that? If we take, get rid of the 0 hours, we'll have to find another way to do it. And Phil mentioned about, adding people on who can do additional hours and stuff. I think, Glasgow, are you looking at possibly putting your whole staff group on in for additional hours? No?
Basically, on ours, just now we have what we used to call true supply, which is your retired teachers, people who are picking up ad hoc days here and there. But then we've got our part-time staff who are also teacher book and who are looking to pick up the extra days. Obviously, that's increased in the last number of years, obviously just because of the financial. But at the moment, people are looking for extra days. And then we've also got our permanent supply staff, which we class as offline workers on our system as well. So we don't, actually, also a lot of people are talking about people who after 2 days, obviously their work plan, we're saying about contracts getting issued and things. We don't do that, but they get a notification email about a post. If it's, as soon as somebody triggers 4 weeks, we transfer them to a fixed term contract and take them off, supply for the ones who are offline staff. So there's a lot of things. But we obviously manage the system at CBS, the Shared Service Centre, on behalf of Education HR. So a lot of the things surrounding the legislation and everything else will be directed from them. Whatever comes out of that, then obviously there will be discussions with teachers who can move forward, and then obviously we'll have to implement that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. We have the same issue. We've got a lot of people who retire and they want to come back just as casual. And we do a yearly exercise. Anyone who's not been paid, basically gets a P45, they're not being paid, they're off the system.
Yeah, we do that as well, just in the back of the SPPA submissions as well.
Absolutely, because then the pension account is, for them, absolutely.
Just to say, when we decide what that is, which isn't so different if you think about the way in which in HR, when you are looking at your supply reports and you're saying this person doesn't supply, this person is working most weeks under our small, drops in service and with natural breaks. So I think the solution, when we start to look at this, it will be that problem that we're facing already, that we're already saying ultimately, I think, is we will have to have peripatetic bank staff who we will issue contracts to, and ultimately there may be low contracts who will generally work additional hours. But, you know, again, it's anything that data about, well, how many bank staff do you need, what do those contracts look like? You'll have to look at your supply use to see, well, what does that look like? And where is that? Where are those elements? So that, you know, if you know whether that's, you're looking at your average thickness, what does this look like? These are who are peripatetic, who will travel round, and you'll still be, you know, again, some of that, and this is part of our report and part of the elements you have to do working up, I think, to this system is look at how do we cost. Why does every school, we were having a chat at our table about every school having its own supply budget? Well, does it need its own supply budget? Because actually what some of them are doing is going, okay, I'm trying not to totally use all my supply budget because I know at the end of the year I've got it, and then what I do is I transfer that in next year and use it for something else. Well, that's not actually giving you the true financial data that you need. So there is a lot of questions around about what you want this system to do, what you want it to report on, and how you're going to use that information to make strategic decisions. Because actually what you want to know is what's the true cost of supply, then everybody has to be in the supply budget, and then you look at who's using most of that budget. And then what happens to the excess of that budget is then a different question. So should we have reduced the supply budget and moved it into capital or something else? Those are different questions. But I do would say that teacher book and having the data will help you then interrogate and then be able to have that for your senior management teams to say, these are the recommendations. But without the data, you're kind of trying to figure out where the wind's blowing of how do I begin to evidence where I need those strategic decisions to be made. So for me and Tilly and the conversations we had with our education team, probably a wee bit probably before teacher book came on board, was looking at costings and why. And you do, I would really recommend that as part of that journey is look at what you're doing and why you're doing it, and is it just because you've always done it that way, and what is the impact if you did change it, and would it be something giving you a bit better data to make those decisions on, and you know, with reducing budgets, you know, it has to look, we do have to sometimes look and say, well, that wasn't all spent, that has to move to the saving budget, we'll put that through as a saving, and if that saving isn't a head count, then that's got to be positive. And if you've got it masked somewhere else, then we're not providing really the true data we need to make those really important head count decisions.
That's great, thank you guys. Is there any more, James, or is that the that little one? Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for those questions. That was really good. I'm glad people can ask questions. So I think we have covered. I think we have covered some of the biggest challenges. I think we've sort of covered that with our first questions. Unless there's anything you think would be useful for anyone to know about the biggest challenges before using the platform, I think we've pretty much covered that really. And then going on to impacts and results. So what measurable impacts have you seen since using the platform? I don't know if Phil or Stella want to come in there.
Certainly for ourselves as accuracy and pay. Accuracy, I don't have half as many people saying that, you know, they worked hours, haven't been paid, and we have to quickly then do advancing salaries and stuff, and then have to do all those other jobs. So that is a major, we've reduced that from supply teachers, and because we can see, and as I said before, you know, the systems are in the schools, they can see everything that's been happening, and they can do their own check-up and chase up, you know, if you get a clerical sitting in the school who has to chase up the head teacher, they're sitting in there doing it, that's ideal for us. So I would say that's a really measurable impact. We haven't had to then, and you know, the sort of failures in school and doing timesheets has meant that we've made sure people are paid accurately, on time, you know, clean information, by this deadline, it's paid. And that's been a really measurable impact for us.
Thank you, Stella.
Yeah, I would probably just add to that. Similar, payrolls definitely measurable in terms of errors have almost been eradicated. There's still the odd error here and there, but 9 times out of 10 it's a head teacher that's not approved someone or put someone through, or is still stuck in their own old ways of calling somebody in as their pal and has forgot to put it on the system. The other sort of measurable part I would say is actually supply engagement. How easy it is to get people in now that we've got a system that works, and straight to people. You're getting, I could sit here and do a job right now and I'll have 50, 60, 70 applicants within 90 seconds. So you're getting people instantly and then you're building within an hour. So that's, yeah, I don't have stats on it, but it's easy. So yeah, measurable.
Just to add to that, from a payroll point of view, it was one person that was sitting practically all day long, every day, doing, we had the manual, we had the bit of paper that somebody had scanned in, printed off and food all over it, and then given it to payroll, we can't read it. But we had a full-time person doing that, and they're now happily getting flexible retirement more down their hours because we can allow that to happen. We don't always say posts with these things, you can just get them to do more productive work elsewhere, but that was an absolute saving, definitely. And on the social care side, although we haven't implemented that yet, we had people manually looking at the hours they actually worked. So they worked from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock, then the 8 o'clock shift to this, and you used to have to calculate how many hours of each pay element that needed to go through. Crazy, absolutely crazy. And with the new system, which we'll probably get into, that just automatically calculates that on the background and gives separate ones for each pay element and uploads hopefully. So that'll be another person that will be able to happily skip out the door of retirement if they wish to. So we have a no redundancy policy.
Everyone skip out. I like that. Okay, thank you. And then I think, was there? So let's move on to tips for new users. I think that's important. So what advice would you give to new users of TeachBooker? So if they're thinking of expanding into other workforces, are there any sort of the advice? What do you wish that you had known, I suppose, when you were coming on board?
I think make sure you do your data protection impact assessment. Okay, we had we had stupidly assumed that Scotland Excel might have actually looked at some of that side, and we hadn't, so we have done it. But what I will say is that even though we hit some issues, and we're also looking at two-factor authentication as well for our IT, SaaS for our IT, just make sure that you're covering all those bases. But when we went back to Gemma and James, on the call and said, look, our data protection officer is not happy with this particular element, how can we get around that? No problem at all. We'll sort it, don't worry, can we do this, can we leave this out, can we get consent, can we do that? No problem. Nothing was ever an issue to try and get around that problem. But yeah, the DPI was the issue.
That was my answer. It's the one job she had. I think the biggest thing I learned from it was the data that you were putting over into the system to start with, making sure you were only putting over really what you needed. It was a massive opportunity to cleanse the people we had on our supply list that had sat there for years, just dormant. And really just, I suppose anyone coming on board now is getting the benefit of the teething problems of all the other authorities that are on. The system's there that's ready to use. It's such a simple onboarding process. It's a spreadsheet for staff and a spreadsheet for supply staff, and it's one upload. It's so quick and easy to get going with the system. And then covering Stella's point from earlier, the training is very straightforward. The system is so intuitive. Not just our head teachers, business managers, etc. The supply staff themselves love the system. It's so easy to use. It's in their phone. So yeah, but it's just getting that correct data over to start with. Makes the system so much easier to use. And auto-approving subjects for secondary staff. There was some teething issues with that in terms of anyone that was coming on that had just been newly recruited after we'd done the bulk upload. I was having to go into the system and approve what subjects they were able to be searched under. So it's just learning from that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, similar, we would just echo that, really cleansing and looking at your processes, making sure you get that all mapped out. There's little point in not doing that and making the transition more complex than it needs to be. If you can have a review of what you've got currently, this is a great opportunity to cleanse that. Certainly we did that with some of our processes. We looked at what was waste, what was this, and did do some changes to those elements. And certainly I what I would say is maybe more now that we've been using it a lot, you know, a bit longer, and everybody's on board, and we're looking at the ways in which probably at the start, you know, you're just looking for those heads in, how many can we quickly get people in. You know, making sure that the teachers know that their bio is really important. You know, that is changing more and more now. We're seeing much more improved elements about the skill sets, etc. that they hold, that is allowing the head teachers to kind of, you know, in all of the schools, they kind of go to the list of the people they know and all of that. They are like reading these and saying, thinking, okay, do you know, this isn't somebody who I would know, but I'm going to bring them in. And it's been, we've reports from head teachers like that. I wouldn't have ordinarily, you know, maybe selected that person. I don't know them, they're not came through, you know, maybe our authority or whatever. And they've been really pleasantly surprised and looked at really into the detail of what skills they are bringing into those skills. So I think that has been a real important point, because, you know, before they just had a list of names and sets of telephone numbers, and that wasn't telling us anything. And it is opening up that choice element in schools about not just picking the same names, picking the quality skills that they need at that given time. So that was a big part for us.
One of the issues we have is about, I mean, Phil is a unique person. But he takes complete control of the system. On the social care side, we do not have somebody who can do what Phil does. And so at the start, we probably should have thought about things like, if new starts are coming on, so our recruitment team send a link to the new person, you know, it's gone through recruitment, these are all supplied, the link gets sent there. But there's no pay number until payroll actually put them on. And what's happening is then Phil's getting an email to say, you've got to put all these pay numbers on. Well, why do we need to do that? Payroll are no longer manually inputting 300 timesheets for supply teachers anymore. So surely they can go in and add 6 pay numbers to the system. So it's about agreeing, like what you said, agreeing the processes at the beginning and thinking about all of that. And then that way you're saying to them, now we're going to backtrack on that, but they're used to doing no work now on the system, payroll, and now we're going to ask them to go in and add the pay numbers. So doing that from the onset and saying, you no longer have to do 300 timesheets, all you have to do is a little bit. And they're like, yes, I'll put those pay numbers in, that's great. But now you're like, can you put those pay numbers in? Oh no, we're not going to do anything. So just make sure you think about all that at the beginning and get that in.
And I think that's really important, is it? Knowing the process, what you want from it, and what will work for everyone. And yeah, I think we'll be as honest as we always are, but is making sure at the beginning it's the first month's payroll. There will be something wrong. There will always be a code not put in. But yeah, working together and getting that done.
There'll be something wrong in preparation to the payroll.
Yes.
Which we'll then sort out before the payroll is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not saying the first payroll run will be wrong.
It will be terribly wrong, and we'll all want to cry. Okay, so have you used Teacher Booker in any sort of unexpected ways? And I suppose that can come into the growth, into other sectors as well. And have you used any unexpected ways? Because there's been certain features that have been brought out, or stuff that we've developed together. Because I know us lot have been together quite a lot with the teams and working out Omnijo. So yeah, is there anything around that?
So Phil, you'll probably talk about the approvals and all the new things that you've done in the ticking people off. But in terms of the social care side, like I said, when we went to tender, we said to them we would be looking to put this out as casual social care and stuff as well. They made that promise that they would be able to do that, and we have been developing a system. It is a bit awkward because we do have all these different types of shifts and we need to build all that into the background. But this has now all pretty much been built. We're not far off going live with this. The buy-in that we've had, so we set up Teams channel, this is quite useful, Teams channel with all the different reps across social care, all the different areas, and we actually had lots of different service design type sessions with them and let them pretty much build it. Okay, so I'm saying, what do you need? And Gemma and James are saying, what do you need? All right, we'll make that. What's your problems? What's your issues? And they actually have taken ownership of the system, and you can actually see a sense of pride on the calls when they're realising what they've said to James and Gemma is now becoming an actual system. Because at first, I'll be honest, they weren't keen. Okay? They were like, all I have to do is stick it out on a WhatsApp group, the rota, and everybody comes back and says, I'll do X, Y, and Z. How are you going to do that? And then they came up with some solutions. We were maybe even putting rotas in, you know, and it could create, obviously that's going forward for forward development, where it could look at a rota and create, you know, the bookings in there, and then it goes out to everybody and they can say, I'll pick up that, and that. But they're now on board. When they realised they no longer had to get those paper timesheets and scan them in with signatures and add the codes and do everything they needed to do, they're definitely on board with it. Yeah. So that's dead exciting. But as for the current teacher side,
I suppose quite a few ways we've used the system that we didn't think we would use the system. Voices has been a big one, able to pull reports instantly for supply engagement, how many offers have gone out, etc. etc. Union involvement, then querying things on behalf of their members, saying they've never been offered opportunities. We've now got our fingertips. Well, actually, Joe Bloggs was offered 37 opportunities for supply and didn't apply for one of them. So go out to your member and tell them that. So that type of thing. One great thing about Teacher Booker, just coming back after the summer term, Dundee was having a financial challenge, I'll put it that way. So we took the decision to pool supply, so we suspended all of our head teachers, business managers' accounts, which they loved to get that email on the first day back. And it just came centrally to me, so I was doing the whole system myself just while we sort of reviewed our financial challenge. In the background, Gemma and James, I don't know who it was that noticed, they were like, Phil, we've noticed you're doing everything yourself. We can fix that for you. So there's a module that the head teachers, business managers can still put the job out, but it doesn't go to any supply staff, it comes to you for approval or rejection. With a box for them to say, I need supply, who's off, how many's off, etc. etc. So we've had a demo on that very quickly because I can't keep doing that. And we're going to go live with that in the next couple of weeks. So it was the fact that they spotted that and got in touch with me and said, we can fix this very quickly for you. They're always looking to evolve things and improve things for you and make it right. So.
It's very similar, you know, again, I think I better hop on the data that's available, if it's for FOIs, your strategic decision making has been fantastic. Our journey was always that we, you know, was this can't be just about supply teachers, it's going to have to take in that the first step was all supply, so, you know, supply cleaner and create the system. And like, and Dave, you were in the same journey where we were saying, well, actually all timesheets, if we can figure out, we know how many people are working contractual hours, we know the total number of hours that they've worked at the end of a week, additional, and we just need to code those in. We do have some online forms, and we have some great guys for ICT who wrote some script, but the key there was, again, we're still having to do some manual approvals of that, even though, as I say, through online forms, but putting that all into one system is going to be key for us, because we do want to make this, we understand the challenges out in operationals. You know, when you're running a school, or you're running a kitchen, or you're running a children's unit, or whatever else, you do want it to be that it's the one system that they're sort of, and then it makes training, it makes, I think as well, opportunities, because eventually, you know, putting a job on the system, you don't need to be a clerical in the school to do that. Putting any job in just means that you need someone in admin who can do that, undertake that piece of work. So I think we have down the line further scopes to think about how we operate. We do have centralised administrative teams where we may no longer need these individual sort of specialist teams. We could do that essentially and just put in a request and these elements can be done and go. So I think we have further opportunities, but certainly for us, again, it will be looking at beyond supply, it will be looking at timesheets, any additional hours, and it will go council-wide. We will expect everybody who's done additional hours, it should all be going through the booking system. And that, and for payroll purposes, will be fantastic, because then we will just have one report, and everybody will be on it. And we'll know that everybody who's on that report at deadline, and we do one big upload, and that's it in. So again, there'll be absolutely no collation for payroll teams at that point. So that will be my utopia as a payroll person in the room.
Thank you guys, yeah. And I think you've touched on there, like you know, how will you use the platform when your needs evolve? And you've already, I remember that meeting with you, Stella, James and I were there, and you were like, yeah, everyone's coming on. We were like, oh, okay, all right, let's take this back to the team then. This is going to be fun. That's great. Has anyone got any questions about that? That would like to pop their hands up or anything? Cool. Okay. So a little bit sort of around feedback and suggestions. I won't keep you all up here for too much longer. Sort of a bit more feature based, and it's your feedback really. If you could add or change one feature on Teacher Booker, what would it be? So it could be anything. It could be from some reports or the booking flow or timesheets or anything in between really, anything that you might use. Is there anything you could think of?
Well, I don't use it operationally, so Sam and Catherine who from Western Berkshire who do use it operationally, I had to ask them and say, well, what would you from Hero's perspective, there's nothing really. It's giving us the scope report that we do want. So like the other guys, when we got a report, we needed a small conversion done, and James was great and fixed that for us, and we undertake that small ops piece. But I think the only thing that the guys kind of really, it's been transformational for them, but it's particularly when you've maybe got a week of supply and you put all the dates in, but someone who's not available for that whole week, and you still want to put in that it's a week. You don't want to put in, the team don't want to put in something like, dates to be determined, because we know it's that week, but then we wanted to actually maybe consider rattling through the people who only get 4 days that week, 3 days that week, 2 days, because actually, although you want somebody for the whole week, if we get somebody for 3 days out of 5, we'll take it. And so we kind of need something, I think, eventually that would give us, well, here's your rank order, here's the people available for 5, here's the 4s, here's your 3s, here's your 2s, here's your 1s. So we can go down and go, okay, do you know what? I'll take the 4 or the 3 out of 5, because, and then I'm only looking for internal cover. Like I said, my PE teacher is going to cover math for 2 Mondays, great. And then it lets you, there's better functionality in schools, because particularly when it's high school level, we start to look at where are my hires, my advanced hires, or what days are those classes when I want a maths teacher. And those days, the rest, if it's maybe, they've got general education, they kind of happy to put in the alternate teachers. So those decisions, by having that functionality and who's got specific days, allows a little more intelligent selection rather than just blanket availability. So that's kind of what our wish list. Sorry, Ramsey, that was just maybe new to you there.
That is definitely not new.
It's not new, it's brand. We'll update you later on it.
And you're probably going to tell me that you do this already, and I just don't know how to do it. My only thing at the moment would be if you're posting a job for a particular school that you might need 2 people, but actually you post a supply job, you book 1, and I'll always keep a note of who's applied 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and I'll go to them individually as the 2nd person. But if you could book 2 off the 1 booking, that would be excellent.
No, and you're right. It doesn't do that, but part of the building out of Omnijo is we have started building duplication of jobs in one step. But yeah, that has also been an issue in Jira for a little while. But yeah, BAMS will fill us in on that a bit later.
Yeah, what I would like to see is, in particular for social care, it's a bit different. There are some areas in the service that they have the rota 6 weeks in advance and they've got lots of gaps in there. I would like to see one booking for that rota in that unit, for example, residential unit. They put it up and they can invite however many people, and within that they see the scheme of the rota, where the gaps are, and they simply just pick from a number of people. And it's almost like the end of the job is when the full rota has been covered. I would like to see that. I think that would be really helpful for social care.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. And I can see BAMS scribbling notes down at the back. So I know we will be covering this a little bit later in our product roadmap session. But unless there's anything else you guys would like to ask me or anything, last chance for any questions from anyone else. But No? Otherwise, I'd like to